What's up FFXIV gamers, this is Jaden for Team AJJ. Welcome to the channel where we cover all Final Fantasy XIV content quick and easy so you can get back to gaming. Alright, let's get at it. This is going to be a quick guide on the Dead Ends. In this video, we're going to cover 3 bosses you'll encounter in this dungeon and if necessary, noticeable trash and mechanics. The first boss of this dungeon is going to be Caustic Gribble. Miasmata will cause group-wide damage and spawn multiple circular AoEs around the arena after impact. These AoEs will then move across the arena in the direction of the blowing wind. Players will need to determine the direction of the wind and pre-position themselves to avoid the damage. Pox Flail will be a typical tank buster on the primary target, tanks be aware. Cough Up will target all players with 3 separate circular AoEs. Simply keep stepping out of these areas to avoid the damage. Immediately after this, players will be targeted with a red arrow. At least 2 players will need to stack up on each other to minimize the damage. Wave of Nausea will cover the arena with a huge donut AoE. Players will need to move into the boss's hitbox to avoid this attack. Blighted Water will target a random player with a stack up marker. Make sure to stack up. Befallment will target all players with a spread out marker. Players will need to spread out to avoid overlapping damage. Pay attention to the pattern of the wind, and this should be an easy one. Next up is going to be Peacekeeper. Decimation will cause group-wide damage and cover the outer edges of the arena in fire. Electromagnetic Repellent will summon a circle of electricity around the boss. Any players hit by this attack will be infected with the electrocution debuff. Order to Fire will spawn missiles in a circular pattern around the boss that will later blast the arena with a frontal line AoE. Players will need to stand in between the narrow gaps to avoid this attack. All players will also be targeted with a spread out marker. Make sure to avoid overlapping. Elimination will be a tank buster on the primary target. This attack will also hit any player standing in the area of the blast. No Future will spawn red circular AoEs that will move across the arena in 2 patterns, either starting from the boss's hitbox moving forward towards the outer edges of the arena, or starting from the outer edges of the arena moving forward towards the boss's hitbox. Players would need to constantly reposition themselves to avoid this attack. Peacefire will spawn circular AoEs that will rotate around the boss. Players will need to rotate in the same direction while also dodging the laser blast from Order to Fire. Eclipsing Exhaust will spawn a knockback marker in the center of the room and circular AoEs around the outer edges of the arena with a few gaps between them. Players will need to position themselves in front of the open gaps so that they are knocked into the safe zones. Stay light on your feet, and this boss shouldn't pose much of a problem. The final boss of this dungeon is going to be Rolla. Warm Glow will cause group-wide damage, healers be ready. Pity will be a typical tank buster on the primary target, tanks be aware. The boss will use Prance, jumping 4 times, dropping yellow circular AoE zones that will later explode in the order they are summoned. Players will need to stand in one of the later spawned circles. Once the first circle explodes, they can then reposition to the safe zone. Benevolence will target a random player with a stack up marker, make sure to stack up. The boss will cast Life Breath, jumping to the edge of the room and blasting the front of the arena with a huge frontal line AoE. Once the initial blast is resolved, this attack will leave a line of butterflies that will face to the east or the west in pairs of 2. These butterflies will soon after blast the direction they're facing with a frontal line AoE. Any players hit with this attack will receive the Doom debuff and can only be removed when healed to full. The boss will use Loving Embrace, raising a wing and causing it to glow, then cleaving the entire side of the arena on the side of the raised wing. Players will need to stand on the opposite side to avoid this attack. Players should keep in mind that this attack can also occur during Life Breath. Still Embrace will target all players with a spread out marker. Players will need to spread to avoid overlapping damage. This one shouldn't be too difficult. Keep your eyes open for where the boss lands with Prance, and the boss should fall over in no time. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the comment section. Alright, now do you know what to do? Queue up and go show them why you belong.